All right, guys, welcome back. Missed you guys last night. It was like the honeymoon period with a new girlfriend, but not and then going off for one night. So glad to be back with you guys. Bad joke. Yep, that's me. I'm very excited actually because I think I was only just thinking about before we came on air, Danny. I think it was 2010 when we first met. And I think it was the original academies. I think you were involved with Leinster, and we spent that week down in Thurles with Ozan, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it's about 10 years since we know each other, and you've had a remarkable journey. And I was just saying to you off air, I think one of the things I regret is kind of not kind of asking the get to know you style questions just before you start with the other speakers. So I guess, one of the things I've asked is like, one, what made you decide to start your coaching journey abroad? And two, along that journey, where has it been maybe most enjoyable?
So can you hear me now?
Yeah, we're good.
Um, Thanks, Paul. About how we met each other, I think the first time we met each other was at a coaching clinic run by Martin McKettrick, who was a huge influence to me, and still is. You know, those guys, Martin McKettrick, Mick James, um, Sean and Richie in Marie, Francis O'Sullivan, and yourself, Carmel Gilmartin, Deirdre Brennan, all those coaches really influenced me a lot, and still do. And you and I kind of as adversaries at the time, but I learned so much from you, and that was the first time we met in that clinic in Thurles. Maybe you were
Yeah.
covering receiver spots. Um, so my journey, just to part of your question about which was the most enjoyable stop so far, um, it was actually in one of my jobs as an assistant coach, working for a coach called Rob Beveridge, um, because Rob, I think, is one of the best coaches in the world. He's won a national championship, sorry, a world championship with Australia. Um, Under 23 men, Bogut, Delavadova, Cam Tovey, those guys. And he was a championship winning coach many times in the NBL, the Australian NBL. And what Rob really does is similar to what you're doing now with this clinic, Paul, is Rob encompasses all parts of the game, like bringing in sports psychologists, nutritionists, strength and conditioning coaches, assistant coaches, video coaches, and allowing them all to contribute to the overall betterment of the team, and all to develop as people within their section, their part of the sphere. Um, so, and I forget what the first part of that question was. Oh yeah, why did I go abroad? Um, we won the National Cup in 2011, uh, January 2011, I think so, maybe 2010, under 18 men. And as some people have coined the phrase Temple Aina, a Temple Oak team that recruited heavily that year. You've got to be able to recruit, and players win games. But I think there was 2,000 people at that game, under 18 National Cup, which is a big game in Irish basketball. And um, after that, it wasn't enough anymore, and I needed to coach, uh, and make money, do it as a living, and that it would be everything. You know, do it the day to day, do it every day, all day, and work on my craft. Um, so I took a chance. I went to Australia I actually went to Australia on a working holiday visa, which you can get if you're under 30, which I was at the time. And I was a qualified carpenter joiner, and I originally went out there to work like that, and I ended up at working with the Indonesian men's national team as a volunteer coach. They were pre-seasoning in Australia, and that's where I met Rob Beveridge. I was like volunteering for a guy named Andrew Vlahoff, who's one of the greatest Australian players in my opinion. Um, he had a RV sports company, and we were Rob Beveridge was pre-seasoning the Indonesian men's national team, and from there, Rob gave me a chance, and that's where it all kind of became a full-time job the last 10 years.
Very good. And I suppose that's kind of led you on to Germany, Russia, and now back to New Zealand in your current position with Taylor Hawks in New Zealand. So I'm kind of excited to see where you're going with the whole pick and roll through 5 players. And I got a glimpse of it as we did the dry run earlier. So if you want to take it away, I'll make you presenter, and let's get cracking and see can we get this knocked out in the hour.
Yeah, I'll try my best.
All right, Danny, I think you should have your screen share there now.
Okay, so let me just show my screen. Yeah,
you should be good there now.
Minimize. Okay, so can you see a key point presentation?
Yeah, so we're there, and it's the Danny Nelson, and your email and all that sort of stuff is up there.
Okay, great. So, yeah, Danny Nelson's my name. This is my contact details. I'm not a huge Twitter guy. I don't really know what Twitter is, but I have Twitter. So if anyone wants to contact me, those are some ways to contact me. I'm happy to talk about anything basketball related, or just to talk in general. I know this is a tough time for people, and it's good to talk. So Sergey Kichenko, I'd like to give him a shout out. He is a Twitter guy. You can get some great content there with him at that handle, I guess. Sergey's also a Fast Model contributor, Fast Model Sports. Sergey was my assistant coach in Russia and my translator, and I recommend checking out some of his stuff. Just to Paul, as I said before, like what you're doing is fantastic. It's what we really need to establish a coaching community, with experts from all different aspects of the game. Shout out to Nabil Ren Nabs at Ren Sport, who also asked me to do a clinic, and I will get to that when he puts them up. But just with Paul and Nabs being asked to contribute to the Irish coaching community is a huge honor for me. Sean Ingle covered pick and roll already, so please use his stuff as a reference point for everything he covered. I will try to take it to different places. Sean is a very good friend of mine. He's an excellent coach. We share information all the time, so stuff that I might talk about is influenced by him as well. Just a message about video, and Kieran Toner did an excellent presentation, and why I bring that up is I would like to encourage all of our coaches to share video. After every game, share video with your team. Get people recording it. Doesn't have to be the best equipment. Share video with your opponents, and share video with your entire league. And we can talk about that more in the kind of questions and answer sections if every anyone wants to bring it up, but you know, I certainly wouldn't have had my career without being able to use video. So let's spread it around. It's, yeah, you know, you'll lose a bit of an advantage, but you will gain so much. Share it throughout your whole league. So just kind of to start with, looking at like terminology that I'm going to use in the video. You know, some of this is just general. It's, you know, it's a fluid moving game, but just looking at it kind of statically as a starting point for building processes, putting the game into categories so our players can think clearly through processes. So here, this slide, we will see just some stuff. So over here I have at too strong, which is a phrase I will use. And what I'm talking about is the ball handler here, one, is coming off a pick and roll, a screen from number 5. And the too strong side are number 2 in black here and number 4. One behind, what I'm talking about when I say one behind, is number 3 here, who's behind the pick and roll. So the pick and roll is moving away from him or her, and that's what one behind means. Just a reference to these particular positions, like, you know, we can have the 5-man being the ball handler in a screen. We can have the 2 or the 1 or 3 setting the screen. You know, we can have our 4 and our 5 bringing the ball up the court. We post up our guards. So I'm just putting this picture like this just to have clarity of what I'm talking about. It's not the particular positions. But what I'm not talking about is positionless basketball. What I'm talking about is every player playing multiple different positions, and every player having multiple skill, like lots of different aspects to their skill set. So this yellow triangle here, I have read written here. So I will talk about reading the screen before, you know, not during the screen or after the screen, before the screen, reading the defensive coverage. This blue square is what I like to call the pocket area. This green kind of stripe here is just thinking about at that kind of getting to that kind of stage to start thinking, if we can't score with the 1 and the 5 here, that we should be developing passes to the spot up players. So spot up is a generic term for me. I just use it to describe a passage of play, a phase of play. And so we're talking about black 4, black 2, black 3 here are our spot up players, who we will talk about a lot in this video. And then, you know, just in here, if we can get in there with the ball handler or the roll man, you know, score. So next slide, this is coming at the 1-man side, at 1 strong, 2 behind here, 4 and 3 are behind. I hope this makes sense. So if you were playing spot up as 3 and 4 here, the black circles, you would see the roll man setting the screen, this T. The front of the T, the top of the T would be the roll man's face. So if you were on the at 1 strong here, you would see the back of the roll man's head. You know, not all the time, but just a generic explanation to get us thinking. And that can signal to our spot up players on offense what they need to do when certain things happen, like, so just to recognize where you are on the court. So this is the at 3 strong. So the pick and roll is attacking this way, the ball handler rolling or popping from the roll man here. So all these players over here, 2, 5, and 3, are what I'm calling the strong side. You know, yeah, they're so far away from the ball, but really when players can pass and penetrate, that is the strong side over there where that corner 2 player is. When I say at 3 strong, 1 in, I mean that there's 3 players over here and one of them is inside, as opposed to at 3 strong spread. All 3 spot up players are on the perimeter. So that's some stuff there. At 2 strong, 1 in. You know, it's not something that I use a lot, but it can happen, particularly in pick and pop situations, when the 4 will seal his own player or the 5 will seal his own player. Our girls team, our women's team that was successful in the arena in our home European Championship games were fantastic at sealing from this player here and players who kind of creep in from the outside, but we'll look at them later. So defensive, this is a video about offense, but I will use defensive position names in the video. So here the 4, the X4 here, this player here, I call the high wall, the first player who greets the ball handler coming off the screen, whether that player is helping or staying denial here. I call it the high wall gap, high wall deny. The X3 here in the corner, I just call the last man. On the weak side here, some coaches call that the MIG. I'm not big into all these, you know, NBA terms, but I think MIG is a good one. Most important guy or most important girl, the MIG. But they're not always the MIG, you know. The MIG could be somewhere else, and we'll cover that later. So X4 and X2 together make the double tag side. So you might hear me use that expression. X3 on his or her own is a single tag side. X5 in this case coming at the 3 strong. Okay, so all these players here are strong side defenders. X5 is the last man here. X2 here is a split player. X3 is the high wall. And then, you know, X4 and X1 are defending the screen. And the reason why I bring this up is, you know, all together, X5, X2, and X3 are playing a zone. And I've noticed, like, our players, when we get to European Championships, they might beat someone in pick and roll penetration, or they might beat someone in isolation, or even in post-ups, anything that's attacking and inside. And they need to kind of understand that all the other defenders are not in a cluster, like they're doing different responsibilities. And some of them are covering more than one thing at the same time, which kind of makes them like a zone as opposed to guarding specific people. They're guarding areas and responsibilities, if that makes sense. So we'll see a lot of that in the video, if I ever get to it. So then lastly is in a pick and pop situation here, 5 is screening and popping. X3 here I would describe as everyone describes as a stunt player. If they're going to stunt onto the pop and defend that for a second, or, you know, if they're going to stay with their player here, X3, and we'll cover all of that stuff. So let's see if we can get to that video. Everything good so far, Paul?
It's great, Danny. I love the way that you put the terminology before we saw the videos, which is great. It's that's a real nice touch.
Thank you. So here we'll get the video. So is that coming up there? Can you see that?
Yep, I can see that perfectly.
Do I need to do anything to it, like enlarge it or reduce it, or?
let's see what it's like enlarged, and then we can see if it was as good as in the dry run earlier on.
Are we good now? This is it
Yep,
enlarged.
yep, we're good. Yep.
Okay, so we're talking about developing spot up. I covered a lot of stuff there already in the slide. Yeah, so players and coaches, like knowing where you are on the court in pick and roll and pick and pop as it's developing. And we talked about all these things already. All 5 players must be proficient in reading the defensive coverage, not just the 2 players who are in the on-ball screen offense. Off-ball players in spot up, you must be proficient in reading tags and stunts and wing denial, etc. All must know, will the ball handler get penetration or not? So if they're dropping, dropping the big will probably get penetration. If they're hard showing or switching, we probably won't. So, or will we? We have to insist on things, but we'll talk about that later. But all players must know if there was a rescreen or not, because your side of the court that you are on in spot up will change in that situation, and you have to be ready for different reactions, different automatics. All must recognize if a teammate is rolling or popping. So we start here, and we're looking at one player behind, and let the pocket play develop and then lift. So this player here, if you can see my cursor, that's the player who we're looking at, and how she can affect this defender here from this defender trying to attack our roll man, which is this player here. So as the pocket play develops and our roll man is coming down, this player here lifting up is really putting this defender in a bad situation, to where now our roll man is attacking the no charge circle, and our strong side corner 3 player is wide open, because her defender is now in a predicament, because there's such a close 3-point lift here that this defender has to go. Okay, and what you get is a wide open attempt in the no charge circle and a wide open corner 3 shooter, which are the two most important effective field goal attempts. So looking at it again, lifting the one man, like playing behind the pick and roll with this spot up player, and we use this pass here to get it over, and now our post player has a great catch, as opposed to her just standing there and we just pass it in. We've used pick and roll and developing the play through the spot up player to make a great catch for the whole team. And in this case, the new MIG, the new last man, comes to double team, and this is just a great pass and a wide open no charge circle catch for one of our cutters. Okay, so we'll talk about that cutter later. But she was also a spot up player, So we look at this player here on offense, one player behind. They screen here and rescreen, I think. Yeah, rescreen. And now the roll man is gone, and now we lift one behind. Okay, so these are all skills that we need to develop in our players in everything that we do. Now what I like here is to cross step and drive, because I coach in a lot of leagues, and I think it's the same. It's like an open step is called as a travel. So I'll explain that now, but like you got to know what your league is. And I know, Paul, you're bringing in the referees, which is a fantastic initiative. I can't wait to hear that presentation. Coaches out there, just stop giving the referees a hard time and concentrate on what we're doing in our jobs. So looking at the roll man here, and he hasn't just accepted that he didn't get the ball. So what he does is he screens the basically the new last man, the new MiG, to stop him from becoming able to stop this penetration, which puts this player over here in a terrible situation. So we can see that the pass develops, and now we get the cross step. The cross step, so the left foot comes across the right foot, pivot foot, and now our post player is wide open when they send late help from his man. Okay. So just, I like to have a bit of fun. This player here, Sergio Huel, has been destroyed in all of our coaching clinics with people who showed video. I know Jess Scannell showed video of Paddy Mills destroying him defense when he was defending. Sean, I think he got hurt as well in Sean's video on his defense. But a note to players is, like, when you put yourself out there and you're defending some of the best players in the world, you're gonna get hurt, you're gonna get beaten, and Sergio Huel is one of the best perimeter defenders in EuroLeague, but just an honourable mention there for him, and we'll see him get done here again. Which I personally, I'm a Barcelona fan, so I like to show clips of Real Madrid getting torched. So defensively, we're trying to attack this player here. And one player behind here is what we're looking at. You can't see him now. He's off the screen. He's going to lift. Okay. And when the pick and roll goes away from this player, the roll is developing. The MiG is tagging. The last man is tagging. And now he's trying to recover. And he can't really get to that drive. And we call that drive the chop cut. And it's a crucial fundamental for spot up players from pick and roll lifts behind. So notice the forward down here hasn't stopped playing. He was the original roll man. He pops down here to a wide open shot, or also he's wide open on the next phase of play for an offensive rebound where they can't get to him on his momentum. Notice the original ball handler over here has cut through and created a strong side corner three. So just a note on cutting after you pass. Like, sometimes it's a great thing to do, and sometimes it's a terrible thing to do. So don't just cut automatically. Cut with reason. But we'll talk about that more. Okay, so one behind again and tagging the roll man, and lift and catch and shoot. So the pick and roll is coming off here. The roll man's coming down. It really affects this last man here. Okay, it leaves the shooter wide open. The passer, the ball handler, passed behind him. We got a wide open catch and shoot on a lifted three, probably for me the third best shot in effective field goal. The best shot in the game being the free throw, and we talked about some of the other shots already. But look at the roll man and how after the roll, yeah, he didn't get the ball, but he makes a paint clear out. He seals his player here in case there would have been a drive or for a good rebounding position. So now we'll look at two players behind the screen. In this case, the roll man is going to pop. Excuse me. So we look two behind, pick and pop, and attacking the stunt player or the heavy tags. So this player here is the stunt player, the purple defender here. Okay, and as the pick and pop is developing, this defender comes in and he's thinking about, can he get to this shooter? Because this shooter's player is defending the ball handler. Okay. Another situation is if this was a roll, and this was a really great roll man, could he heavy tag that roll man? Okay, so in both situations, we've got to teach our spot up players to develop their cuts and their shooting and their lifts based upon what's happening the defense in every situation. So right here, the stunt defender pays too much attention to the pop, and now we can make this cut straight through the middle of the defense. Okay, all right, and we get a pass here. So effectively, he becomes the new roll man, and there's a drop pass in there, and now we're lifting this corner guy here, and he becomes the new lifted shooter, which the ball handler can see quite easily. Just a note on this, and I'll try not to go too far on this, but we're European Union players and coaches, and we play FIBA basketball, and the most important FIBA league is EuroLeague men's and women's basketball. The rules in the NBA are very different, so we can still take concepts from everywhere, but we have to kind of understand what way the defense is going to cover us. And this player here in Europe, and you'll see him later again, can be more in the paint. And what's really important is on this cut against the heavy tagger, against the stunting the pop, that you get the left foot here over that last man and kind of post him up sometimes. Or if you're Lorcan Murphy and he just makes a mistake, you might just lob it up top and he'll send it home with a dunk. So again, two behind, pick and pop, cut to create space for the pop guy, and I just want to talk about this shot. So two behind, pick and pop here. We cut against the heavy tagger, the stunt. We lift on the other side. This is the shot here, and we talk a lot about mid-range shots. Please don't be confused that long twos are not what people are talking about. It's the degree of difficulty on long 2-point shots, mid-range shots, and how much time is on the shot clock and all that kind of stuff. But we can talk about that later. But this could be described as a mid-range shot. It's not a pop for three, but it's a pop, catch and shoot in an open, clear, balanced long two. But what is important is the destruction of the defense by penetration and cutting. And this team in white here are going to win the offensive rebound if there is a shot, if there is a miss. So just there's some things to think about shot selection and analytics. So again, two behind here on the pop, and cut here, cut to make space. Okay. Okay. So looking at the two-man strong side, and flare screens against the high wall player. So this player here is the high wall player. So as we're coming off the screen and we get our roll man, the attraction of the high wall player, he's focused on the ball handler for a second on the strong side. But now we can screen him with this other player, the other two-man strong player, in a flare screen, and this really destroys defense. Okay, and they're distracted. Our roll man is wide open. It's hard for Kobe to tag. Yeah, what a tough year, huh? It's hard for Kobe to tag, and we lift here, and our roll man is wide open. Okay, so this player here, Samantha Wickham, close friend of mine, Australian national team player, American-born, naturalized player, Euro Cup, EuroLeague, Australian NBL. and WNBA, and I think she's a great player for our girls to study because she can pop, she can roll, she can take people off the dribble. Um, she's a great spot up player. Um, for all our players to study, men and women, boys and girls. So as the ball handler's coming here off the screen, and we notice that the big is dropped. So on a two-man strong side, you kind of realize we're going to get penetration, or it's possible to get penetration from the ball handler coming down here. So therefore, move away from the screen, from the ball handler, and that really puts the high wall in a tough predicament. And it's not so prominent in this clip, but we'll show it later. This lower player on the two tag side moving in or to this side of the court, and all 5 players must read the coverage of the on-ball screen together. So we see Sammy here popping out, and she's wide open for a 3, and we see her teammate moving and is wide open for an offensive rebound should there be a miss, and usually there isn't. So two-man strong side, the ball handler gets penetration and a scoop pass, which I think is not talked about enough. And a lot of ball handlers, they don't see the strong side. They're too busy looking at the roll man, the pop man, or the player who lifts behind. You've got to see all 5 matchups on the court as a great ball handler. I think maybe Rick Majerus, who coached one of our guys, Kevin Lish, he said a great player can see. I think Rick passed away actually, so a great player can see 2 matchups. A good player can see 2 matchups on the court. A great player can see all 5 matchups. And what that means is don't just use your hook passes and your pocket passes and hook passes to the weak side and to the roll man. Also use these scoop passes here, kind of like that to the strong side. And again, we see the strong side player here stepping away. And what I like to do is on that pass to cut this player here. Okay, the corner is cutting. All right, and that gives us great shooting for this strong side high wall offense. It gives us a great cross step drive after the tail of the cutter. It gives this cutter great offensive rebounding positioning on the next phase of play. But something that actually happens to us a lot is depending if this player is a good shooter, this defender here may actually switch. And if that defender switches and they get into rotations, then just stay in the corner. Or if you've already cut a little bit, come back. Okay, so and I mean if he switches on to the shooter. So here we see this again at 2 strong over here. These players in yellow at the 2 strong side. Ball handler is going to get penetration. We get a scoop pass, and they step away from this player here, the high wall. So the high wall defender, his attention is really attracted to the ball handler, and this player set a great screen. Okay, and then that scoop pass, that pass out there, wide open catch and shoot, and we cut this player in the corner so that they can't really stunt with this player here on defense. I love leaving in clips where the coaches get mad. Keep your cool, coaches. But great offense can really get some momentum going and get the other coaches to call timeouts and just to lose their cool.
Danny, we got about 10 minutes of video that you can show, and then maybe we get into question and answers after that. How's that sound?
Thank you, Paul. Yeah. Okay. So again, step away here, step away from when the high wall helps on the ball handler. You know, make this cut here again. Okay, so with two players behind the pick and roll, or yeah, the pick and roll here. Okay, roll man's going this way, ball handler's going that way. We got one strong here, and we've got two behind. Okay, and when there's no tag against the roll man, both of these players can lift. You know, the wing is lifting to the top, and the corner is lifting to the wing. Again, fundamental skills that we have to develop. But first, you know, let the pocket play develop. Okay, so the tree at the tree strong. You know, when the defense is dropping, if you're a ball handler, take your time. You know, when the defense is hard showing or switching and coming to attack you or to switch onto you, yeah, move quickly. When the defense is dropped, take your time. Take all the time in the world. You're putting the ball into the heart of their defense, and they don't like it, and you're in control. As a big, setting the role, setting the screen, you know, realize, is your player dropping? When your player is dropping, hold the screen. Take your time. When your player is coming up and switching and hard showing, move quickly to the next phase of play. So we're coming at the 3-man strong. So this is all the strong side over here. And there's 2 out and 1 in. So we want to look at this player here. So this player can either, what I like to do is move back and kind of butt screen or seal this split man, so that this split man has chosen to stay outside with this strong side corner shooter. Great decision. But I want to butt seal him with my back to him with this player, so that he can't come back inside again and then and defend me. And then conversely, if he does come in and defend me, I want to screen him in there and keep him in there so he can't get back out to the shooter, because my player is going to become engaged with this great ball handler who's taking their time. Okay, and this is our team here from last year in Russia, the team in white. So again, we're looking at the same situation, and bring up a point that Jess Scannell talked about with flow motion. And you know, I learned a lot from Andre Lamanis, and this is a slightly different situation. But I think it's important is so we Iverson over the top, and we get the ball to a wing pick and roll, a side pick and roll, and they're hard showing. Okay, so on the 3-man strong side, if you can get that same player that we just talked about, here's Rashad here, we just talked about the same position in the last clip. You know, on this pick and roll against a hard show, we can lift that player up. So those are like immediately like 3 different things that he can do in that spacing, in that side of the play. And here we can get, so those are 3 skills you can develop your player to recognize in that position and practice those skills. And now simply we have, it's not a great pass, but like a high-low pass, which is something Jess talked about, is, you know, don't just turn and play flow motion with these 3 players here, or Euro motion with these 3 players. have a look. Can you get the ball to the guy who was just on the action? So two behind, we see Sammy again here. Two behind, and ice is quite popular these days. So ball handler goes this way, roll comes this way, and lifting when the tag doesn't happen against the roll man. So this is fitting the automatics into the pick and roll offense. So now notice this player here, the one in player on the three behind side, and getting the right foot in on the split player defender, and puts this defender in a really bad situation. It's either a dunk or a power shot or an open corner or an open lifted three. This is a play where it all kind of comes together. Lots of it comes together. Three men behind, pick and roll. The ball handler passes and he doesn't cut. Like, sometimes it's good, just don't cut all the time after you pass. The roll man's coming down here. Birdman here, he's really sealing his player. The lift players are coming. One of them gets the ball and gets into a chop cut and drives. And now this paint clear out, it's really hard for the defense to stop Chris Bosch here. Okay. So just this last clip to finish, Paul. You've got to know when you're playing spot up, when the sides of the floor change, whether you're you're too strong and now you're too behind, or vice versa. So here we see Zenit St. Petersburg, EuroLeague team who played against us last year. They set the screen, and the defender here is going underneath the roll man. And then it's something Sean talked about. So on the rescreen, as the spot up players here, this player and this player, the two strong side spot up players, when the guard comes off this way, you've got to realize that your reads have changed as well. On the rescreen, you were on the weak side, and maybe you need to cut if they tag or if they stunt or lift. But now suddenly you're on the strong side, and you've got to maybe set a flare screen here, which is what they do, and which is what I like to coach. Is if coming at the two-man strong side, the high wall, which is this player, is denying our top perimeter player on offense and spot up, we come and set this flare screen to the corner, if you can see that. So I'll leave it at that. Hopefully that was kind of helpful. Bring you back in, Paul.
Yeah, it was fantastic, Danny. And I guess there's an awful lot in that in terms of skill sets, footwork. That's off the ball stuff. I mean, obviously Sean and Colin spoke about ball screens earlier in the week, but I guess what I'm seeing right there is the amount of footwork that's required off the ball in terms of getting into your shot off of the flare screen, off the double strong side, off the throwbacks. What we call them throwbacks, sorry, on the behind guys. And obviously then there's choices to be made and decisions based on long closeouts. How much time do you guys put into work on the off ball screen work, and how is it taught in terms of on no repetitions? Or I'm still actually toying with this. I'm not sure I'd like the phrase small sided games, but games with purpose sounds more beneficial. But do you do it into small breakdown games?
Yeah, so the word you use there, breakdown, small-sided games. I just call it like breakdowns, like breaking down small components of our offensive system. And you can do that 2-on-0, 3-on-0. You can do that 5-on-0. You can do it 5-on-5, 3-on-3, 2-on-2. We do it all the time. We do our system in everything that we do. So if we're working on ball handling and passing, and shooting, skill development, we will use those concepts, or our concepts, our automatics, our reactions to those situations. Are we being denied? Are we being heavy tagged, etc.? We do that in everything, including our shooting drills, our ball handling drills. We do everything we do in a game. We do it in every drill. We don't really do drills. Just a bit more on that, I heard a lot in the clinic, in many clinics, talking about whether to play 5-on-0 or not. Our players demand that we play 5-on-0, and I would also play 5-on-0 at under 10 level. And the reason is, especially with the pro guys, like we travel so much, and like it gives like clarity and spacing and reads. So it can reduce contact for teams who travel a lot. Pros, like veteran pros, they love 5-on-0 because they can talk to the younger guys about reads. So your offense changes completely depending on what kind of coverage the defense is playing. And 5-on-0 allows you to change your offense without the pressure of the defense, live in practice with your players, talking about it and talking about the coverages. And don't expect them to talk, which is the most important thing, and to see. And don't expect them to huddle and communicate if you don't let them do it 5-on-0. I hope that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting to get both sides of perspective, I guess, because all week we've been hearing about playing against defense, and I suppose Jeff Van Gundy and the basketball immersion has kind of kicked off that whole debate again of constantly playing 5-on-5 versus.
Sorry, Paul, but just even with kids, like, how are they supposed to understand spacing and timing and when to cut, where to cut, without the whole picture, and without the whole picture where they're not being pressured by defenders? So small-sided games and breakdowns are absolutely huge. That should be the main thing, but you should do the whole thing, and without the pressure of the defense. Then do it with defense and without defense, fake defense, coach controlled defense, and then go back into your shooting drills again. And sorry for cutting you off.
Not at all, because I like the terminology coach controlled defense. So obviously, like we would have done this year when we were practicing our schemes, we would have, instead of going on 0, we'd have put coach control defense in, but we only need them go between 20 and 30%. So it's deliberate opening up space and stuff. So I can see where you're coming from on that. A quick one. You spoke about attacking a point outside of the ball screen and knowing which defender you're attacking. So on 2 strong, you spoke about maybe attacking the weak side defender in the one behind, and on the 1 strong, I think you spoke about the second defender on the 2 behind. Is that something that is an automatic, or does that change game to game based on the strength and weaknesses of the opposition defense?
Yeah, so just on your last point about coach controlled, after that you can then randomize it. So your coach controlled defense can have 2 options for the same situation, and then they can choose themselves and randomize it, which I think is great. Friend of mine, Rick Torbett, who I highly recommend coaches study, I know a lot of our coaches, Carl talked about them a lot. He calls them mannequins, just crash test dummies that you can practice against, to give your offense a visual and physical feeling of how to select different reads. So then going to, us attacking different defenders in what's seemingly the same situation. That's something that we will cover in video. Like we watch video every day. In preseason we'll watch video twice per week. In season we'll watch it every day. We'll watch it in the hotel. We'll watch it. Some of our guys we watch video on the plane. Like we're just always watching video, and we're always knowing what happened in our last game, and how we can review the selections that we made, and grow our intellect of our own system. And then we're always watching later in the week what's coming next. What style of play, of defense that the opponent is doing. Are they heavy tagging? Are they denying certain players or systems that are similar to ours? And then I will have codes where I will we'll run a certain spacing or formation, or we'll run a certain set, and we'll just use a code to emphasize that we're taking that particular read with what could seemingly be two reads in the same situation, if that makes sense.
Fantastic. I suppose visual has been mentioned a lot this week, and I guess with GDPR these days and with underage video regulations, how can we overcome that? Because I'm a big video guy. Everybody knows I'm a big video guy. I don't do anything without recording. But then you have those restrictions of those coaches who might be interested in recording their under 16 game or under 14 game. And yet then we're restricted by maybe somebody not allowing it. Now, my understanding is if it's used as a coaching tool, it's permitted, but then other people aren't aware of that. So I think it's just changing every year. But what's your opinion on all that sort of stuff?
So my original point in bringing it up was a coach's challenge to our Super League coaches on the male side. I really feel like I want to put pressure on our coaches to share video, and I want to put pressure on our coaches to open up their sessions to volunteer coaches and local coaches who might never get the chance otherwise to be involved with a Super League team, and to give them responsibility of editing video. And I want our leagues to develop, and I want our national team players, shout out to the Women's Super League who do a great job sharing video. I want our Super League and National League players who are 17, 18, 19 to get a chance to see what they're doing on video. I want these games to be shared throughout the whole league. I want them to see offenses and defenses. Everybody talks about player development and elite junior basketball, but that doesn't stop at under 16, under 18. You've got to develop players right up till 2024. Higher. It never stops. So video, that's my point in doing it. And then with regards to coaches, my point in bringing it up, and then it improves coaches development.
No question.
Just a few more things, Paul. I'm in a position now where I get to hire people as my staff, and I look for people who are multiple discipline, like they can coach and they can analyze video, or they can be a physio and a strength coach, because these people save me money in the budget. So if we don't develop all our coaches, that our coaches are highly proficient in video analysis, like Kieran, for example, you know, what are we doing here, and how are we developing our national team players with the underage restrictions? You know, you've got to stick to, I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble. You got to stick to the rules. But I would ask the question of the parents. I would ask the questions of the other team. I would ask the question of all the coaches, where you can make a coaching community in your league, and not just you, and you see them once a year or twice a year, and you hate each other or whatever. Like, become friends with the other coaches. And my final point is, you know, make WhatsApp groups with the other coaches, and share.
Yeah. I thought Puff was sick tonight because there was no question came in, and just as I'm about to wrap up and get it done within the hour, Puff comes in with a question. So early in games, are you using the first few ball screens to see what tags and rotations defenses are making, or are you trusting your scouting to know what teams are doing?
The first kind of play of the game, we'll be using like a quick hitter. Like one of our usual offenses that'll probably involve a ball screen, and we'll try to make it look like we're doing something that we always do, and then a quick hitter as a surprise. And it'll be based around how we know they're covering, the type of players that we have, or the type of offense that we have, based around how they had defended other teams in the league or us earlier in the year. But I do like that idea, what Puff is talking about. I do it a lot, just coming out of timeouts early in the first quarter, just to see, yeah, what kind of, because they could have 8 different kinds of coverage. So,
Yeah.
you know, which one are they using? And then
All right.
screen.
Yeah, I'll leave you on that. We're going to wrap it up in the hour. Great job, Danny. Challenged you to do it, and you did it. Just on that, and it's something that Danny mentioned. I suppose I'm going to release it now, but we're going to be doing a coach mentorship program for about 4, 5, 6 coaches. That will be released soon. So just announcing it that, yeah, the plan is that we're going to try and put Fusion Basketball out there and do some coach mentorship stuff, and bring some coaches in to help some young coaches get on that pathway for academies and things like that. So I'll release those details next couple of weeks, and hopefully we can get started. It's going to be a pretty long program. So we'll be inviting coaches in to talk to those and see what we can do, and see can we build it and help young coaches get in that pathway like you and I were helped, Danny, you know. So let's start putting that out there, see what the feeler is, and see if anybody wants to get in that pathway, and we'll see where we can go with it. So Danny, super job. Thanks very much for your time. Very very thought provoking. It was interesting with the double and single sides and behinds and stuff like that, and it was interesting with terminology. So we're looking forward to building on that, and finally a bit of someone talking about of defense. Tommy O'Mahony is going to talk about transition defense, our silver medalist, winning under 18 women's coach, on Thursday night at 7 o'clock, back to the usual time, and things like that. So I'm very much looking forward to it, guys. Miss you guys tomorrow night, but see you on Thursday. And Danny, thanks a million again, and
Thank you,
big
Paul.
shout out to all our coaches so far, and we'll keep it rocking. So guys, see you guys Thursday night. Thanks a million.
Thank you.
More than welcome.